Hi, I'm Tracy Becker. I grew up in Northbrook from the time I was 10. I've moved back here a couple years ago, so I've got a long-term perspective on Northbrook that might be unique to this group. I am working on the school team, and what that comprises is a lot of parents generally, of course concerned citizens, and even educators that either live in the district or work or in the village or live and work in the village, pardon me. We've had 2 meetings so far, one during the day and one in the afternoon in order to accommodate the varying schedules of everybody involved. And I'd say that there are 3 general focuses of the group. One is waste reduction in the schools and educating students and families and school administrations about that. Nutrition as well, and you'll hear a little bit more about one of the very successful programs that's already in place in Northbrook. And nature appreciation and resource appreciation. Getting kids out in nature, how do they engage with it? It may be in the form of gardens or field trips, what have you. Specifically, I am at School District 30, which is in the southern end of Northbrook. It's a combination school district with Glenview as well. And specifically at Westcott, I've met with the principal several times. I'll just give you a highlight of some of the things we're looking at doing this year. First, number 1, increasing PR, just letting people know that there's more going on. Second, reaching out. There's a district recycling committee, and it's that group that we're hoping to get more on board with a greater variety of activities and to get to that energy meeting in November. Next is we've compiled and are discussing with the PTO a list of best practices for school-wide or classroom-based events. The Halloween party, for example, one thing that we were able to pilot this year is a healthy choice in the classroom. So yes, there will be juice, yes, there'll be a sweet treat, but there will be a healthy choice and there will be water. So it's a baby step, but it's coming along. Waste reduction ideas as well. We're going to have a second Trashless Tuesday. The first one we did last year in the spring. It was very inspiring. We weighed the trash in the school the week prior. We had about 50 pounds of garbage. On Trashless Tuesday, or rather less trash, we had 40 pounds. So it was a 20-pound reduction in garbage alone in one school building. So we're going to do another one in November as part of America Recycles Week. Next, we are looking into big stickers for our garbage cans. We're going to try and label them landfill cans as opposed to just having no label. There is an existing child's garden that was created several years ago. It has kind of been neglected, and the staff has asked us to look into improving it. Something that's exciting about it is the PTO is going to consider a large gift at the end of the year in order to facilitate it. So this is going to be your year of research and options and hopefully planning, and then something that can be implemented in the future. And 2 other things. Earth Week, last year, instead of just Earth Day, the school had its first Earth Week, a different sort of personal focus on doing your best to help the planet. We had something like a Go Greener Friday, if I remember. If you go to school normally in a car, see if you can go in a greener way. Carpool if you must, walk, bike, what have you. If you take the bus, don't miss the bus, get on the bus. And then last is there's a prairie garden at school. It goes through an every other year burn, trying to draw publicity in, just actually not so much in advance, they're concerned about safety, but afterwards to let people know this is a natural part of nature and the process. And also a vegetable garden. I understand our Cub Scouts, our local Cub Scout troop is working on revamping that garden with some raised beds. So a real variety of things going on specifically at this school, and it's very exciting, looking to get more support within the school, within the administration. If any of you especially have had a role in District 30, I'll reach out to you and ask if you have any words of wisdom for me as well as we go forward. And that's it for me.
Okay. Good evening. I am Carol Wagner. I'm a holistic nutrition consultant, and I'm really honored to be here to get to speak with you. I want to give a little bit of a caveat that what you're about to see is 8 years in the making, because often when I tell people about the progress that we've made in District 28, they're, oh my gosh. I said, trust me, this did not happen overnight. We took some small steps, but we kept going. I want to tell you just a little bit about me and my background and how I came to be doing this work, because I do think that it's relevant. So I was the director of leadership development at a Fortune 100 company for a number of years. And along the way, all 3 of my kids developed food sensitivities. And the recommendation, this is some 12 years ago, was to put everybody on penicillin and Claritin. I wasn't sure if that's what I wanted to do right off the bat. And so I started to change their diet. Ear infections went away, eczema went away, migraine headaches went away, and I was so jazzed about that I went back to graduate school. I completed a master's degree in holistic nutrition, and I began the work that I'm doing today. I started to do some work in District 28 in 2004 with the help of some willing administrators. So the very first thing for those of you in other school districts that are saying, okay, how can we make some progress? I will tell you that we started our team, our committee, our task force, whatever you want to call it. And when I say start at the top, take a look at who sits around the table every single month. Superintendent, principal, school board member, business manager, teacher. I was the /parent and nutrition consultant, a student, and the food service vendor. I get calls all the time, and I have for years, people saying, you've made a lot of progress, help me get started, what am I doing wrong? And the first thing I say is, how have you gotten started? And every single person always says the same thing. Well, I've been going to the PTO meetings. PTO is a great organization, but it's not designed to be able to do things that are administration-wide. It's not designed to be able to make policy. So even though that's a great organization for other things, you need the key stakeholders, and they need to be around the table, and you need to have those kind of champions, and then you can really make some changes. The next most important thing we did after we assembled our team was we started educating. A couple of years ago, one of the superintendents said to me, you know, I go to these conferences and all the superintendents talk to each other and they hear about wellness and nutrition in Northbrook and they say, how did you make such great progress? So Carol, how did we make such great progress? And I said, unlike what some other districts have tried to do, we started to educate first. We didn't go in and start yanking out all the things that everybody liked, because then you get people rebelling and feeling like you're the food police. It's not pretty. So we had teacher wellness seminars, so there were Teacher Institute days where we talked about a number of things around wellness and nutrition. We had parent wellness seminars, and most importantly, we have created a 6-week healthy eating class. It is mandatory for every incoming 6th grader at Northbrook Junior High, which is the junior high for the district. We try to have it be hands-on learning. So for example, I just gave you a couple of examples because I know I have a short period of time. But we have the students create a food log. They write down what they ate for breakfast, and then how did you feel 2 hours later? And the tip that I give them is, are you tired? Are you hungry? Are you cranky? And they're like, what? You know, well, maybe I'm tired because I went to bed late. Well, maybe. Or maybe I'm cranky because my sister was mean to me this morning. Well, maybe. But now we're getting them over a period of time to look at what they're eating and look at their energy level. And then they start to equate it to their performance. And next thing you know, they're able to really make that connection. Most of us in this room weren't taught growing up the connection between what we're eating and how we feel. That doesn't mean these kids aren't going to make choices sometimes that maybe aren't great, but they're not surprised when they don't feel terrific. Another thing is the student recipes in the cafeteria. Trying to get as much engagement and awareness as we could. What we created was an assignment for the students. It's toward the end of that 6-week class. And in that assignment, you have to come up with a recipe. There's a few criteria. It has to be kid-friendly. It has to be affordable. It can't be too labor-intensive because we want the kitchen to be able to make it. And then all of these recipes are given to the teacher, and we go through them, and we pick as many as we can. And I would say on average, we get about 6 per class. and then we have them put on the monthly menu. So imagine that your dish is now on the menu every month, or that particular month, and kids can come and get it. So there's a lot of buzz about who got picked, but again, the level of awareness. So they've taken their learning and they've put it into something very actionable. Was there something else? Yeah, I think that was it about the classes. The cafeteria itself. The first thing we did, this was 8 years ago, we took out the deep fryer. We replaced it with a steamer. When I say improve the protein-carb ratio, when I tell you that there was one meal that I remember in particular that I looked at and I said, okay, so you've got pasta, there's no protein, and there's garlic bread, and there was some other third kind of starch. And I said, these kids are going to be falling asleep when they go back to their class. So we looked at improving the protein, and we looked at improving the quality of the protein. Fresh produce, there was a lot of stuff that was coming out of cans. We went from white to whole wheat, and I was told by the food service vendor the students will not eat it, and the students ate it, and nobody squawked. Antibiotic-free chicken. So I'm about to tell you in a minute how we have a partnership with one of the local chefs, and she ordered some chicken for a particular recipe, and when the bill came, we noticed that the antibiotic-free chicken was less expensive than the frozen preservative-laden stuff that we had been getting. So needless to say, we quickly made that switch to having that all of the time. These are some things that we felt we wanted to put a stake in the ground. We knew we couldn't change everything. You can't do too much, but because of what the compelling research around high fructose corn syrup, food dyes, artificial sweeteners, and MSG linked to so many health challenges, particularly with students, we decided that those were things that were just no longer going to be in the cafeteria. I mean, you still need kid-friendly food, but it doesn't have to glow in the dark, and it doesn't have to have chemicals, right? I mean, you know, right? So those were some of the things we did initially with our current vendor at that time. And more recently, we have switched over. We did do a request for proposal. We do have a new vendor. We've continued with, obviously, those past improvements we made. Much of the food now is made from scratch, which was not the case before. There is an increase in organic produce. We are using, I'm about to tell you about our garden, produce from the garden that we've just recently installed, and the salad bar has way more great stuff in it. So there continue to be a number of new improvements. This is really the first full year of having the new vendor, so we're still learning and we're still doing some more things. We partnered with a local chef. Some of you who've eaten at Prairie Grass Cafe may recognize Chef Sarah Stegner. I literally cold called her. I said, your restaurant's in our district. We've done a lot of teaching. We've really come a long way, but one of the things I can't seem to dispel is the myth that eating healthfully is going to taste like your shoes. Will you help us? And she said yes. So she did a number of things. She created some recipes that could be created in the cafeteria. She would go down to Green City Market and bring all these heirloom different varieties of things. The kids were like, I had no idea there were so many varieties of different kinds of produce. And she would do taste tests with them and, of course, dispel that myth. She also was somebody who partnered with us to help with the vision of the garden, because at Green City Market, which she is the co-founder of down in Lincoln Park, is the edible garden there. If you've not seen it, it's really quite extraordinary. And Jeannie Pinsoff Nolan is the person who created it, and Sarah knew her, and she introduced us, and that's the person that we've used. So this is really the crowning jewel. This just got put in this year, and it is very accessible for anyone with disabilities. We've had the 3 elementary schools make field trips over there. So we had the first graders with a little wet piece of Kleenex with their seeds, you know, walking and planting. It was adorable. We've had kindergartners come and pull things out of the ground. In particular, all of the students at the junior high, because that's where the cafeteria is. In our district, there are no cafeterias at the elementaries, only at the junior high. And so these students have come out, harvested, literally then it's in the cafeteria that afternoon for their lunch. So cool. And some of the footage, if you go to the District 28 website, there's some videos, and you hear these students in the background saying, "This is going to taste so much better because I really worked really hard to get it." It was so, like, comments like that are great. And you hear these kids' comments and you think, you know what? They didn't know where their food came from. It came from Sunset, right? So it's being harvested and served the same day. The Family and Consumer Science, used to be called home ec, right? They've harvested some of the produce and then come into their cooking classes. There's several cooking classes that the district has. There's a summer school class that linked to the garden, and they had the students not only go out and harvest, but then they took the surplus to the Northfield Food Pantry, which was great. And there you go on that. Okay. And then we did a lot of fundraising. This was not inexpensive. It didn't happen overnight. We did a lot of fundraising, but it's really so experiential and so hands-on, and it's a great opportunity for these students really to be able to learn. In terms of lessons learned, I was just trying to stay high level and kind of give you an overview. We did not have a student rep on the committee in the very beginning. I'm not really sure what we were thinking. It just didn't occur to us. We were so busy doing all these other things. Then a few years into it, we added a student rep, and it made a huge difference. Just that link. We didn't want to presume to continue to know what the students really were thinking. More parent engagement opportunities. Early on, when we were trying to get healthier food, our former vendor was often saying, "Well, it's too labor intensive, we can't do it." And so there were all these obstacles to trying to make some healthier food, and we said, fine, we're going to come in. And we got a whole bunch of parents, and they were helping to make some things that might be more labor intensive, but they were much more healthy. And so finding more opportunities to get the parents, because they want to get involved, and they really like that. I came out of a corporate environment. I came in to help and consult in the school. Things went a lot more slowly. I'm not the most patient person on the planet. It wasn't pretty in the beginning, but you know what? I'd want to go faster. They'd slow down. We'd kind of come to the middle. And what I learned is, as long as you keep going, small changes can really make a big difference. Behavior doesn't change overnight. I mean, any of you in any kind of business, you don't go and do change out your computer system and do a one-time thing and go, okay, everybody cool, we're done. You just have to keep going. And I think the point that I really want to make about that is that we focused on creating a healthy culture. Because if you go in and try to just fix the food over here, you're not teaching over here. And if you're teaching over here, but you got junk in the cafeteria over there, those mixed messages, the students figure out real quickly where the loopholes are. So if you think bigger picture on creating a healthier culture, that really makes a big difference. Don't lose your sense of humor. I think it's a very, very important, important piece. Now, we're going to take questions a little later. Okay, so thank you for that.
Hi, good evening. My name is Margaret Plouffe. Thank you for having me tonight. It's the first time visit here. I work as a first-line therapy lifestyle educator right here in Northbrook at Connecting with Wellness over on Skokie Boulevard in Dundee. And I'm also a supplement specialist at the Integrated Medicine Center in Glenview. So I love what the mission of my team is doing with the school nutrition and the gardening. But there comes a dilemma once the weather starts changing like this, so I have something to show you called the Tower Garden. So if anybody's ever been to the Epcot Center in the land, it's the future of growing. Those long tower gardens that are 12 feet high, they're now in homes, and we're getting them into schools and nursing homes, and they're very easy to grow. So you plant the seeds and put the water in, mineralize it, and turn it on, and you're growing. So in 3 to 4 weeks, you have tomatoes. I've done herbs and squash. You could do anything that grows above ground. So catering companies are using it. The rooftop gardens in Chicago are starting to get a hold of this. So it's very exciting. One of my colleagues has the gardens in a school for disabled children, and they have a lot of tactile problems, and they're loving growing their own food. So each of them has a little plug. It's got 20 plugs, and they each have their own plug. So when you think about some kids who've never even held a piece of spinach or kale, and then they're all excited to go pick one, and we actually get the kids to eat kale in a shake, because you could hide it in there. So when they go and pick it, and then they're all proud of it. So we're working with preschoolers up through high school right now. So Tim Blank from The Land is a scientist who created this, and it's been very easy. I'm kind of a neglectful gardener, so I just planted it, turned it on. We went on vacation, I forgot to check it. I went out there and there's the produce growing. So we have 3 to 4 weeks growing time, and we're using only 10% of the space. So when you think about all the soil and the labor and the land it takes, this is much easier vertical growing. So we're hoping to move this into more schools and even on your back porch. So you have a farmer's market in your yard or in the school. Thank you.